Okay. Hey everyone, I'm Alex Cox. I'm Vice President of Go-to-Market here at RevSure AI, and I am excited to be joined by Mike Filippi today, a good friend of mine. We have some great past history together and shared some fellow advisor roles at some other tech startups together and worked on a few other projects together, which is awesome. Mike is going to join us today. And just share about his experience leading marketing teams as a marketing executive for a little while. So I'm actually just going to toss it over to you, Mike. Mike, feel free to give us a quick introduction about yourself as we go into this conversation today.
Yeah, will do. Hey, everybody. Really happy to be here. My name is Mike Filippi. I have been leading early stage marketing teams for almost a decade now. Time is flying fast. I've been lucky enough to be a part of some really successful ones and seen a pretty wide range of experiences and outcomes, which has been great. Traditionally, I came up through product marketing, partner marketing, field marketing. That's like the area I kind of grew up in marketing for about 15 years before I moved into a leadership role. Since then, I've really taken a passion into building high-performing, very efficient marketing teams at those early growth stage companies. RevOps being a particular area that I love to just get really nerdy with. It's an area that I'm really passionate about, and lucky enough to mentor a number of leaders at companies that are tackling, the issues of ROI and growth and efficient growth and attribution, and how do you present that to leaders and boards and make smart data related decisions. So this is something I love to talk about. So I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us, Mike. And for the audience today, we're just going to be going through, a few different topics. Mike and I could probably talk all day. Earlier.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem for us.
What was it like? 8-9 months ago, we were in London together at a conference, and we talked shop all day, and it was awesome to hear. So hopefully you all get some learnings from Mike. I'm sure I'm actually going to learn from Mike some more in this conversation today. So that being said, I'm going to kick it on off here really quickly for us and just talk about, data, right? What is the attribution dilemma, right? Why go-to-market teams struggle to connect the dots, right? That's a big thing here at RevSure. Would love to hear a little bit just, on this slide, what we're looking at is data fragmentation, slow decision-making, misalignment across teams, right? And wasted budget, right? Yeah. Budget's such a big deal these days. Yep. Everything is looked underneath the microscope for teams, right? We want to make sure that dollar in, dollar out, right? So forth and so on. I would love to kind of hear your thoughts across, a couple of these topics. Maybe you could share a little bit of just, the conversation we shared before jumping on here, just about some of the things in front of us.
Yeah. There are a number of things that really make running efficient, well-informed go-to-market teams a struggle. And it's just by the nature of like the growth of software or software systems within the go-to-market teams, the way the go-to-market teams have evolved and gotten structured. And the first one is data fragmentation, right? You have a number of sources of truth. You've got your marketing automation system, you have your CRM, you probably have another system for outbound BDR, SDRs, you have other systems that are tied into that. So you have a number of different pieces of software. Hopefully one of those is your source of truth, but even with that, you're going to have silos because not all that information is going to map, not all that information you want to pay to move between systems. You're looking at dashboards in a marketing automation system that are probably very different than what your RevOps or finance ops leaders are looking at versus your sales leaders. So just from the get-go, the foundational setup is already difficult. Now, maybe you hire a RevOps person to come in and start to organize that, but they are hit with an immediate challenge of, okay, they're horizontal, meaning they're over marketing, sales, finance ops, maybe, and outbound and maybe customer success as well. But they're basically managing independent siloed verticals of data as opposed to a horizontal approach. And I think that's one of the things that RevSure does so well is that they bring it into like more of a horizontal. So that data fragmentation is a challenge. So even with a RevOps team running it, they still have a big challenge of pulling all that data into one place cleanly, efficiently, and in a way that you can make smart decisions. That's a major major challenge and a huge data undertaking. The second one that kind of stems from that, obviously, slow decision making, right? So if your data isn't talking well to each other, isn't clean, and to the third point here, if you are misaligned with your other leaders as a marketing leader, if you're sitting down and constantly debating with your sales leader or maybe your BDR leader or whoever it may be, what the definition of qualified is, or what the definition of high intent is, or the definition of a hand raiser, or when somebody should be a SAL, an SKL, or SQL, SQO. If you're spending all your time talking about that and not actually analyzing the data and understanding what's happened and where to pull the trigger and why, and which leads are the right leads to go after, that misalignment leads to very slow decision making. And that stems from poor data and a team that is just not on the same page. And you can't get on the same page until you pull everything together across that horizontal line that I was talking about. So that's a big, big challenge. All of those moving to the right lead to that wasted budget, right? Wasted budget. If you are not aligned and you're spending more time trying to sort your system than you are making decisions from it, more time trying to understand how the data should, could, or needs to be plugged into each other. And that leads to slow and poor, or just quite frankly, bad decisions. You're going to be wasting budget on the wrong campaigns. You're wasting a lot of time and full-time employee or hours on trying to solve this. And that's wasted budget. And as a marketing leader, you just cannot afford to do that. You don't have the luxury of wasting a lot of budget, because every dollar, especially nowadays, is scrutinized. So that puts you in a pretty tough spot.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you, Mike. Well, thanks for giving us that quick overview. And we're going to go a little bit deeper today, right, on some of these topics. So let's continue to go on from there. We're going to talk a little bit about attribution. Attributions can be a hairy word, right? I think some people can look at it very negatively. Some people can look at it from a positive light, right? The way that we really look at attribution as a way to unify and go-to-market teams, right? Sales, marketing, customer success, go-to-market finance, to come together and really make sure that you're making the right decisions, in time. So there's, traditional attribution, right, which is looking at past, touch points, maybe looking at first touch, last touch, but not giving you the full picture, anything in between, right? Because there's a lot of effort that goes into, a sales cycle and marketing nurtures and all that good stuff from start to finish. And then it just doesn't really understand, the buyer journey, right? Especially when you only look at first touch or last touch, right? So that's kind of the old way of marketing attribution. Now there's this modern way of doing attribution, and we believe that we are really helping drive that trend, right? And drive, I wouldn't really just say it's a trend. I would say that to drive that movement, right? How to unify teams, looking forward, multi-touch, attribution, right? AI attribution, right? That's going to be custom to everyone's, each individual journey, right? Because everyone's selling cycle and marketing cycle is different. And then, understanding right touch, right time, right? What you should be doing. Would love to hear a little bit of your thoughts on this, since you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, I think you're right. So it's absolutely the future of attribution. And I can speak from somebody who's been in the game for a little while. The traditional attribution, I always joke that it's a little bit of a dirty word, because the old style attribution was more often about marketers trying to prove the value of their job, right? To show that, hey, look at all these people that are engaging with these things that I'm doing. Look at these people or prospects that are maybe, and I say maybe, leads, right? And oftentimes it produced not true, transparent, truly engaged or intent leads. It just created leads that were probably a little fluffy. And it was out of a need for marketers to find a way to prove the value of what they were doing, to defend their jobs. And I think that was that traditional, something happened in the past, we record it, maybe first touch, first or last, or maybe weighted or W or any of the other, varying types of attribution. And you gave some sort of arbitrary scoring and value to it, and you presented that to a team and then hoped that the sales team went after it. The future of attribution, and what makes me so excited about what we approach here at RevSure, is that it's not about that defense posture. It's about smart decisions and proactive decisions into the future. And I think when I heard that first presented, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like that's a really cool way to look at it. So instead of me reporting on the past to make some picture of the proof of my activities, instead I have data across all of the data sources, all the platforms that are in a go-to-market team, unified in one space, and then presented in a way that I can not only make smart decisions, but I can make those through the lens of every decision I'm making. And that is proactive, right? Future-facing attribution. I think that's really, really cool. The one thing that actually stood out to me that you just showed me a little bit ago that I actually didn't know you guys were doing, and I think this is awesome, is that forward-looking predictive ability of predictive attribution. And I have not seen this yet. So I thought that was really, really cool when you showed that to me. I don't know if you wanted to explain it because I can't explain it as good as you will.
Yeah. So for that example, Mike, is we're able to predict out, right? So we're actually, let's take Google campaigns, right? And we can do this for any channel or any activity, right? So we can tell you, like, within your paid Google or your paid LinkedIn, what campaigns are performing. We'll actually tell you if you should invest more into that channel, if you should stop, or if you should wait and watch. So when we tell you to invest more, that's because there's way more pipeline that's available, right? And way more close-won opportunity. And we're not just saying that from a marketer standpoint, we're saying that based off of all of your historical won and lost deals on this channel to this audience, right? To this specific ad group, right? And so we're able to tell you, you need to put a little bit more money in there because you're going to have another 500K worth of pipeline. And just through your, historical win rates and through our AI, you've got another 275,000 of close one opportunity right at your fingertips. That's right. So cool. And not only is that a win for you as a marketer, right? Which both you and I are marketers. That's our background, right? Big demand gen guy. Hence why I took that one as an example, but also, close one revenue, right? So you can go take that to your CRO, right? And your business development leaders and say, we need to continue to invest in this channel and give it another 2 more months because we're going to land these deals, right? And we've historically have been able to show that, but also be able to project down the future. So that's just one example. Thanks for calling that out, Mike. And we're going to continue to
it's really here. Cool. I think if more people saw it, I think they would be as excited about it as I am, because I thought that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of with that being said, we talked about like go-to-market frustration, right? We're in the day of age of kind of sometimes leaner teams, right? Working even closer with our counterparts, right? Our peers, not only internally, like within marketing, but also, externally, with other departments. Would love to hear a little bit about your thoughts here. I know you kind of, were saying something. I thought it was really cool. The way you said it was, what is RevSure doing, right, for your impact? Would love to hear a little bit of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so we kind of touched on this a little bit before, but it's pretty straightforward, right? Marketing has a challenge. If you're a marketer today, you are on the hot seat, right? You're under the microscope, and you have to prove that the dollars you are spending are generating an ROI. Full stop. And that is very hard to do. That's very hard to do as a marketer because not everything can be tracked. The buyer's journey is no longer linear. It's all over the place for everybody. We've all heard the term dark funnel. That is a real thing where buyers are doing a lot of research well before they reach out to you in the dark spaces of the world. And that is a major challenge, to have a cohesive, unified, uniform way of reporting the ROI, both actual and predicted ROI on the campaigns you're running. And you need really clear, clean programming like RevSure gives you to be able to present that in a way that not only you can look at, but your sales leaders, your finance leaders, your RevOps leaders, your CEOs and business leaders and board are going to look at and understand that you understand. It's not going to be in a marketer's language, which is one of the things I mentor a lot of people on, right? They present and they wind up talking in all marketing language and nobody understands it. RevSure is in business language. It's in finance language. And that's what you need. You're going to put X dollars in and get Y dollars out. And this is why. And this is the path. And this is what happens to get to that dollar. That's what you need in a very clear way that your entire executive suite can understand. And that, if you have that, that is your greatest line not only a defense, but also growth for you as a leader within the company. You want to stand up and take a leadership position beyond simply marketing. You have to understand the financial fundamentals of how that is working, how the company's working. This is a foot in the right direction. The sales frustration side, obviously, any marketer who's been doing this long enough knows that we create leads, we send them to sales, and maybe they follow, maybe they don't. You typically get the old joke, you send a lot of leads over to sales, and sales says those leads are terrible, and then there's the clash between marketing and sales. What I like about that horizontal one place for truth is that kind of ends that debate, right? Because you can say, look, we know who this person is. We know what they did. Clearly, they are a hand raiser or high intent or a marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead, whatever is that your company uses to define that stage. So your sales team can understand the journey, the value there, the probabilities there, where they're at in the journey. So it's no longer a debate of some marketing controlled definition of a lead that is based on some parameters that they control. It's based on a unified decision, right, of what that is. And it is what it is. It's not up for debate. That is the lead at that stage. So when sales does reach out, you no longer are spending your time debating the quality. You're just talking about, are they at the right stage to convert? Did they hit the right markers? Do we need to give them longer? They haven't completed the journey in the way that we know, or number of stages that we know to get to where they need to be. That's the conversations you should be having with sales is, are we doing the right things right now to get that lead to raise their hand or to respond to the BDR outreach or whatever it may be? That will solve that sales frustration. And that makes marketing more of a strategic leader to sales as opposed to somebody who just tosses leads over a fence. And then the RevOps dilemma, which I think is really interesting. My heart goes out to all RevOps leaders. I think it is an incredibly important role. It really steers the entire, go-to-market structure, the revenue, sales, customer impact, that journey. And if they don't have a way to pull all of these very unique data sets together from all the different systems and put it into one report that everybody agrees upon, that is the source of truth and can give them, advanced level reporting in a very clear way, their job is just, that is a rough job. I don't think you're ever going to get out ahead of that if you're not starting from that position. And I think RevSure provides that for RevOps. And that's I think one of the biggest advantages by far.
Absolutely. And the really neat thing is I think it's a unique case that you're starting to see even like go-to-market finance teams, right? Like with those titles, directors of go-to-market finance and VPs of go-to-market finance. And we have those folks that are in our platform, that's supporting the RevOps, the sales, the marketing teams, the customer success teams, because they're all in there already. But now we're having finance come over and being that, being that connection, right?
I think that is the role. I think RevOps, I've seen RevOps report to finance. I have seen finance ops under the RevOps role. My last role, I had a finance ops person in there, and I loved it. I think that was great. And if you have that team operating in this one horizontal, tool that's unifying all these individual silos, that's very powerful. And I found that the majority of my time after the initial setup was spent making decisions and analyzing the importance of what we were doing. And we found some really, really, really important levers to pull for growth that we would have otherwise not seen. And that all kind of stemmed from that team and this system to be able to do it.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And I think it really does bring that like one source of truth. It really does, right? You're not sharing different reports, different tools, different views. It really just, everyone's looking at the same thing, right? Yep. And that's so critical in today's world, right? This is where we're going to be able to sit down and make those decisions, right? So totally. Go on. So RevSure, is really just across the board, like a ton of different features, from, we got demand gen people, reallocation, lead prioritization, some of you would see in sales, pipeline projections. These are some of the things that you really love, right? And I would love to kind of hear just a couple of thoughts. You don't have to hit on all of them, but like, I'd love to hear a couple of thoughts on some of these here that, that you're able to get under one viewpoint.
I'll call them out kind of quickly. So for me, demand generation, that's a no-brainer, right? Obviously, if you're going to move into an attribution tool, demand gen has a major takeaway from this, right? Knowing what is working and why. And even better, not just a channel level report of, is this channel producing, but understanding, is this channel producing top, middle, bottom? Do they go back and forth between this channel? How much am I investing here? And is that the right amount? So understanding effectiveness, not just pure dollar in, dollar out, which most companies do, but the actual true effectiveness of your demand generation in that broader picture of bringing them in and moving them methodically through the stages, down the funnel, through the pipe, and to a customer. So RevSure makes that very, very clear. And what is impressive is that it's really powerful. You can slice it probably more ways than I've actually gotten to, but you can slice it up and break it down and look at it in all these really important ways, but it still keeps it very simple and very digestible. And we've all been in those older, dashboards that don't do that. And you wind up spending hours buried in reports that are just convoluted and complicated. And this one is actually really great because the way I see it built is it does a lot of the lift for you, which is really cool. The other part here that I think is what really makes this stand out is the campaign reallocation. So it's one thing to know, what is my channel producing? What is my campaign producing? I'm doing X and I'm getting Y from it. That's great. That's like basic demand generation marketing reporting. But campaign reallocation is going to the next level. This is like that advanced level capability where you're not just looking at the ROI of a channel or campaign, but you're looking at the ROI versus every possible campaign or channel. You're looking at making the best decision with every dollar in an entire view, not in a silo, right? Not in a vacuum, if you will, because a lot of marketing decisions on campaign spend, channel spend, initiative spend is really made in a silo, and that's really difficult. And yes, you can find that maybe something is a positive ROI, but what if something else is even more of an ROI? What if the CAC to LTV ratio there is 7-to-1 versus 3-to-1? What if you're getting more enterprise leads out of this channel versus more SMB leads out of this channel? So going to that next advanced level and being able to understand your campaigns, channels, et cetera, in a complete vision is that's a game changer. Like that just changes the way you evaluate what you're doing. And if you walk in, and I have, to an executive level meeting and say, hey, this is what's happening today, and I have pulled it apart and understand that this is where we're investing, but I'm going to deprioritize spend here because our return is better over here, or we're getting more of this over here. You are in control. You are driving as a go-to-market leader, not reporting what you did in the past. And that's something I talked about a minute ago. Such a game changer as a marketing leader. Puts you really in the strategic driver's seat. I think the other ones that you have up here obviously make a ton of sense. Lead and account prioritization. You got to know who you want to go after and why and when. This is one of the best things about attribution. It's like the next level past simply just understanding intent. It's also knowing who is the right person for me to close this account. Where are they at in the journey? What signals have they given? And what am I going to get out of this? How much do I have to put in to get that person out? So understanding that like full attribution model, I'm going to be able to point my BDRs or SDRs or sales team at the right people at the right time. And that's just efficiency, right?
Yeah.
If you're not burning them on the wrong time, spending too much time on the wrong people at the wrong time, and you can make sure your team's super efficient, very focused. So that makes a ton of sense. And then of course, pipeline projections, right? You're a marketing leader, a revenue leader, RevOps leader. You need to be able to walk in and understand not just what you did, but the forecast of what's going to come in a way that every one of those other leaders is going to agree, right? They all agree that that is the truth. That is it. This is your source of truth. And the pipeline says X. That is what we're going to get. And that's how you have those conversations about, are we on track, off track? Do we need to up spend, reallocate spend? That's the conversations that I like to have in the meetings I have with leaders. Because then I'm making business decisions that drive growth, not business decisions that are trying to unpack what happened in the past. Yeah.
I love that. I would love to hear a little bit more just like on whether to use RevSure. Just honestly, honestly, Mike, like you've worked at large enterprise companies, right? You've led product lines before, at large enterprise companies. And you've also taken smaller companies through great growth, right? I would love to hear a little bit just like, why RevSure? Why an attribution tool from your standpoint?
I think when you hit that kind of that growth spurt, right? You've come up and you've tested a couple channels, you've tested some campaigns, and now you're going all the way up to enterprise level. There are very few companies in that spread from high growth all the way up to enterprise that don't have multiple campaigns, multiple geographic regions, multiple target markets, multiple segments, multiple channels. And if you have any combination of 2 or 3 or more of those, you need a tool like this that can pull it together, because you're dealing with a ton of data that is siloed, but now also disparate because it's all relevant to those segments, regions, etc. You need to be able to pull that into one place and look at it as a unified board across your RevOps team, your sales team, your marketing team, your finance team. So for me, if you have 2 or more of those things that I laid out, channels, campaigns, regions, segments, etc., you would benefit from this, in my opinion. There's very few examples of the companies that I have advised or worked at that wouldn't find value in it. And the ROI is pretty crystal clear. Like it's pretty clear. It's clear within like a month or 2 of using it. You're like, okay, I got this. Like I know exactly what I'm getting out of this and what I can see. To that same note, it's proactive, strategic leadership, making decisions, not just reporting on spend. Like that's the difference that people have to get used to, right? We talked about old versus new. I'm not reporting on spend in production. I am reporting on what happened and what I'm going to do to produce more, right? Future proactive, these decisions to drive more business, to optimize for more business. And that is everything nowadays.
Absolutely. No, thanks for sharing that. We had a leadership dinner not that long ago, and Ryan was there as CMO of Mabel, and you
got to share that case study too. That his case study is really cool.
Yeah, and I want to flash that up. It's putting some numbers behind what you're saying, right? You talked about the importance of having a platform like RevSure within and seeing the results within a month or 2. Like these are the results you're seeing. Improvement in ROI pipeline from being able to see what's working from like a demand gen effectiveness view, right? Time savings, right? Bringing your whole team together. You're not running all these different reports. You're not going to your RevOps team or your marketing ops team or your sales ops team saying, put together this report. And it's 4:00 on a Tuesday and they got to get it ready by 10:00 on Wednesday morning the next day. And they're up for 4 hours. They're up working for 4 hours till 10 midnight at night, working on these things, and it's not really fair to them. Right. Like this is, a lot of people are building the reports within RevSure that they're bringing to board meetings. It's the same template every single time. So there's no shocks. And if they want to see something new, you go back and you can go and build that really quick. But like, it's such an awesome way from a time saving standpoint. Right. And you hit on that. It's like bringing the teams together, making sure your dollars are going farther, saving time, working together for the bigger mission of the company. I know I just read a great article, kind of a blog post on Dave Kellogg about, it's not just about creating pipeline, right? It's from a marketing standpoint, right? But it's, did that pipeline get to that, end revenue target essentially, right? And that's just so critical. Thank you for your time today. That really wraps it up. Mike, this is Mike's information. I'm going to leave it on the screen for a couple of seconds.
Mike, I got to update my headshot at some point.
Mike's on LinkedIn. I was joking with him. You guys probably see the drum set behind him. I think he's probably in Blink-182 or something. And Mike, just thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your insights. Across the board, it's a true treasure to have someone like yourself in your history join us. And you're currently leading teams right now and advising us, especially at RevSure. So we just want to say thank you and have a wonderful day. If you guys all want to reach out to Mike, feel free to add him on LinkedIn. This is his headshot. This is how you can get a connection with him. I'm sure he would love to talk shop with you. And if you ever need any advice or advising, I'm sure Mike would love to help you out on the side as well. So thanks so much, Mike, and just have a wonderful day.
Thank you.